Configure port address translation (PAT). Configure dynamic NAT with overloads. Configure traffic that will be permitted. On R1, this router, click here. Configure one statement for access list 1 to permit any address belonging 172.16.00 prefix 16. Okay, 172.16.00 prefix 16 includes these two network addresses, this and another this. Okay, go to R1, enter, enable, configure terminal, global configuration mode, access-list, okay, access list 1, space, and permit the 172.16.00. Permit 172.16.00. Prefix 16 and wildcard is 00 to 55 to 55. Enter. Configure a pool of addresses for NAT. On R1 with NAT pool that uses the two usable addresses in the 209.165.200 to 32 prefix 30 address space. Okay, prefix 30 only permit two host addresses. 232 is the network address, 233 is the first host, 234 is the second and last host, and the net mask is the prefix 30. Remember, 235 will be the broadcast. Okay, and create this pool. I create the pool, IP-NAT pool. Use this name, any pool name. You can use any pool, for example, pool-1, 233 and 234. Okay, remember, use this pool, 209.165.200, 232 is the network address, 209.165.200, 233 the first, and 209.165.200, 234 the second and last. And the net mask is 255 to 55 to 55 that 252. 252. This is prefix 30. Okay, enter. Associate access list 1 with NAT pool. Okay, you created the access list, you created the pool. Now associate bot. Okay, IP NAT inside source list. List is number one, and pool. The name is pool-1, case sensitive, pool-1. Okay, but use the list 1, the pool name, and use overload. Okay, to use port address translation, use PAT. Overload. This is PAT. Port address translation. Enter. And finally, configure NAT interfaces. Serial 010 will be the outside, gigabit 000 the inside, and gigabit 001 inside. Interface here 010. IP NAT outside. Enter. Interface gigabit 000. IP NAT inside, and gigabit 001 IP NAT inside. Exit. Verify. Okay. Verify dynamic NAT with overload. Access services across internet from web browser of each of the PCs that use R1. Okay, PC1, R1, PC2, or L2. Okay, any of these PCs access the web page of server 1. Okay, server 1. 49165.2015. Okay, PC1. Use web browser to access the web page. Use this IP address 209.165.2015. 209.165.2.1.5, go. Success. And another network, for example, L2, the same procedure, 209.165.2.1.5, go. Success. Were all connections successful? Yes. View NAT translations. View the NAT translation on R1. Show IP NAT translations. Go to R1. Go and to go privilege exec mode. Show IP NAT translations. Enter. You can see 172.16.11.11. The inside local 172.16.11.11 is the private IP address of L2. You can verify this 172.16.11.11. And this private IP address was translated to 209.165.200.233. Okay, the first IP on this pool. Okay, the first IP on the pool 209.165.200.233. But uses this port 1024. And this another inside local 172.16.10.10 is the private IP address of PC1. Verify here 172.16.10.10 private IP address of PC1 and was translated to 209.165.200.233. The first IP address on the pool, the first, okay? But the port is different, 1025. Okay, for laptop, for L2, translate to 209.165.200.233 with port 1024. And for PC1, translate to the first IP address on the pool 209.165.200.233, but uses another port 1025. And outside local is 209.165.2.1.5 with port 80, the HTTP port for web server 1. Notice that all four devices were able to communicate and they are using just one address out of the pool. Okay, verify also with L1 web browser 209.165.2.1.5 go. Success. And also with PC2 web browser 209.165.2.1.5. Okay, go. Very good. Server 1, very good. These others. Go to R1, repeat, show IP NAT translations, and you will see 4 entries. Okay, and they are using just one address out of the pool. Okay, 233, 233, 233, 233. Okay, this is L2 uses 233. This is PC1 translated to 233. This is L1 to 233, PC2 translated to 233. But the port is different. The port 1024, 1025, 1026, and 1027. But we'll continue to use the same address until it runs out of port numbers to associate with the translation. Once that occurs, the next address in the pool will be used, while the theoretical limit would be 65,536, since the port number field is a 16-bit number. The device would likely run out of memory before the limit would be reached. Okay. Configure path using an interface. Configure traffic that will be permitted. On R2, Now configure on R2. Okay, path with interface, go to R2, enter enable, configure terminal. Now global configuration mode. And configure one statement for access list 2 to permit any address belonging 172.17.00 prefix 16. Okay, and 172.17.00 prefix 16 includes these two networks, these two local area networks, this and another this, okay, and create that IP access list 2 permit 172.17.00 and wildcard for prefix 16 is 00 to 55 to 55. Enter. Associate access list 2 with the NAT interface and allow addresses to be reused. Okay. Associate the access list with this interface serial 011 on R2. Enter R2 NAT statement to use interface connected to the internet and provide translations for all internal devices. Okay. Associate the list number 2, this access list, to the interface serial 011. Serial 11. Go to R2, IP NAT inside source list. List is number 2. And there is no pool, only interface, the interface serial 011. Interface serial 011. Overload to use path. Okay, port address translation. Enter. And next, configure interfaces. Serial 011 outside, gigabit 000 inside, gigabit 001 inside. Interface serial 011. IP NAT outside. Interface gigabit 000. IP NAT inside. Interface gigabit 001. IP NAT inside exit. Verify path interface implementation. Access services across the internet from the web browser of each of the PCs that use R2, PC3, L3, PC4, and L4. Okay, from these devices, PC3, L3, PC4, L4, access the web page for server 1. Okay, this web page 209.165.2.1.5. Okay, PC3 web browser 209.165.2.1.5. Enter or click and go. Server, very good. For example, L4 web browser 209.165.2.1.5. Go, very good. L3 web browser 209.165.2.1.5. Enter, very nice. And PC4 web browser 209.165.2.1.5. Go, very nice. Were all connections successful? The answer is yes. View NAT translations, view the NAT translations on R2, go to R2. And privilege exec mode, show IP NAT translations. Okay. Okay, I have 5 lines because these 2 lines is for only one PC. Okay. 172.17.11.11, L4, 172.17.11.11, and was translated to 209.165.202.130. is the IP address of serial 011. Okay, show running config. You will see serial 011 IP address 209.165.202.130 is the IP address of serial 011. Okay, space show IP NAT translations. Okay, 172.17.11.11, the L4 IP address was translated to 209.165.202.130, the IP address of serial 011. 172.17.10.10, PC3. 172.17.10.10 is the IP address of PC3 and was translated to 209.165.202.130. Okay, the IP address of serial 011. 172.17.10.11, the IP address of L3. 172.17.10.11 was translated to 209.165.202.130. And 172.17.11.10 PC4. 172.17.11.10 was translated to 209.165.202.130, the IP address of serial 011. Okay, 130, 130, 130, 130, 130. But the port is different: 1024, 1025, 1037, and 1038. Okay, this is port address translation, path. Okay, compare NAT statistics on R1 and R2. Okay, go to R1, show IP NAT statistics. Go to R2. Go to R2, show IP NAT statistics. Okay, R2. And R1 compare. Okay, on R1, translation 4, okay, 4 lines, 4 dynamic and 4 extended, 4 dynamic and 4 extended. Outside the interface, serial 011, serial 011. Okay, but dynamic mappings using the pool. Okay, the pool. This is the net mask for the pool. Start with IP address 233 and IP address 234. Total addresses 2 and allocated 1 in use. Okay, with on R2, total translations 5, dynamic 5, extended 5. Outside interface serial 11, and dynamic mappings. Not using dynamic mappings, no information for this. Okay, the difference is R1 has dynamic mappings and R2 doesn't have dynamic mappings. Okay, no dynamic mappings on R2 because R2 will use only the IP address of serial 011 for translations. Okay, completion 100%. Thank you very much.